Hello, folks. Hey, do you want to know what new features Instagram has recently rolled out? Are you looking for the best ways to use those features to increase engagement, build your following, and turn conversations into conversions? Well, if you answered yes to any of those questions, then today's show is for you. And we've got something special for all you Tailwind lovers who already been using Tailwind. We are extending the double referral that we've been doing. You can continue to invite your friends to Tailwind until 11:59 p.m. Central Time on July 7th, and both of you will receive $30 in Tailwind credit. So you want to invite friends to check out Smart Loop. You want to help them grow their Instagram reach with Hashtag Finder, or find amazing new group of pinners to collaborate with in tribes. Well, then you need to get on that before July 7th. And today we've got such a, I don't even need to say anything. You just look at the panel right here. It's amazing. We are joined by a special guest, and I'll let Rebecca introduce her, because I'm sure she's got a lot of things to say about our guest today.
Well, we actually talked about that just before we came on. You know, how much can we cram into 1 hour together with how much we all enjoy being together? But yes, we have a very special guest. Peg Fitzpatrick is here. Peg, I feel like it's been forever since we've actually gotten to hang out on a live together.
I know. I don't even know the last time I did a Facebook Live.
Yeah, I'm surprised you got it to work. I mean, we didn't have to check any mics or anything. It was amazing.
I was
true.
like, this goes here, this goes there, and it worked. Yay.
Amazing. Cool.
So Peg, for those that aren't familiar with you, you are the co-author of The Art of Social, hashtag right behind you, Art of Social. And tell us a little bit more about what you're doing these days, especially over on Instagram, and how people can find you there.
Oh, geez. I'm always working for a brand. A lot of people don't know, but ever since day one, Rebecca and Jeff, you know this, but other people don't always know. I've always worked for brands 100% of the time that I've been on social media. And then on my accounts, I'm always testing how to use everything. So I like to say I built an accidental social media following by trying to figure out how to do things, because I never want to test on the business accounts. So on Instagram, I'm Peg Fitzpatrick on all my accounts. But on Instagram, boy, stories have really been crushing it for me. Regular posts, not so much. And then we have other stuff that we're going to dig into. So I don't want to like spoiler alert any of our 7 things that you don't want to miss. But for me, Instagram just slowed down, like the likes and the engagement and everything that I had been getting. So one of the things that we're going to talk about, I changed over to, and then stories have really been crushing it for me. And makes it even get more likes again. How about you guys? I mean, like more followers. Not
For
just
sure.
Like
Yeah. I want to do a really quick shout out to some people who are joining us. We've got Theresa says, hey, good morning. And we got Chuck's here. Hey, Chuck, I'm glad he sent me an email this morning. Wanted to make sure he got on the show. Beverly, Carrie Ann says, thanks for doing this. Beverly goes, when I grow up, I want to be Peg. So I do too. I really want to be Peg as well.
Who
Yes.
doesn't?
And Coriel says, struggling at the moment, so really grateful for this. Thanks, guys. So we've got a lot of excitement today. So thanks for everybody for joining us today. And we'd love for you, as you watch this, to ask your questions. We'll try to pull them up during the show and answer them the best we can. And also, if you'd share the love out as you see this to all your social groups, we'd sure appreciate it as well. So Olivia is here too. I saw her over in London. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is going to be a great show. So Rebecca, take it away. We've got 7 things to talk about, and hopefully we can get through them all, because we can be a little wordy. But
I know.
You know.
Well, and I do know, but I also know that we have a lot of ideas, ways that you can use these 7 different features over on Instagram. And Peg, you just alluded to one of them, which is creator accounts. And I know there's a lot of question around what's a personal account versus a business account versus a creator account, and why might I want to consider transitioning over from one or the other over to that creator account. And I know that you did exactly that. You've been testing it out and really getting a feel for how it's working for your personal brand. So talk to us about creator accounts, our number 1 feature that you may not be using, but should they?
So the difference, obviously, there's been a personal account. That's what everybody started with. And then it was kind of like, if you do something where you're making money, you should be, if you're like a professional Facebook page, then you should have a business account. But business accounts aren't necessarily a good fit for people, like a personal brand. So the creator account is actually really made for Instagram influencers, which is what, like, be honest, everybody, like, do you want to be an Instagram influencer? So hit up in the comments and say, yes, I do, because that's all anybody talks about is being like, how do you make money on Instagram, and how do you, have a big account that, works for your brand? Or if you're a blogger, how do you get people to see your content? And so they took, it's kind of the in-between of a personal and a business account, I think, and it's more it is designed for creators. So there are different features when you have a Facebook business. You get different analytics, which are set up better for people who are working for brands. So if you want to work for a brand, a Facebook creator account is the way to go. Like if you want to, be somebody who, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I post things for Random House. I'm one of their Bookstagram influencers. So they send me books and I post about the books, and I have to disclose that because if you receive product or money, you have to disclose on Instagram that you're doing that. So I do that through the creator account. And then I can see different things with that. And then when I tag them, they can actually see the stats if they wanted to. They probably could care less because it's not like they have a bunch of people that do this, but it's really set up for that. I think really they're paving the way towards more of that influencer account. And I think they really want to try to, cap off that like to know it activity where people are going off Instagram to go over to like to know it for this swipeable buying. If you don't know what like to know it is, it's kind of a combination of Instagram and Pinterest where you're seeing the things and you can click and you go right to it in their affiliate links when you go there. So most, I would say all of the Instagram influencers use like to know it. So you'll see a lot of follow me on the like to know it app, go to the like to know it app, that kind of things, calls to action to have people go over there. And I think Instagram would prefer to keep everybody right on Instagram. So again, there's other features that we'll talk about in a little bit that go along with that conversation. But that's kind of how I see creator accounts. What do you guys think?
Well, I know we have a question. Patricia goes, but how do you switch from business to creator? And so, I mean, some people may not even know if they have it or not. So how do you can find out, those?
I think you have to apply,
okay.
Or maybe I think you could just go in the app. I turned my phone off, but I think you can just go in the app and switch to a creator account at this point. Carol wants to know if you lose followers. You do not lose followers if you switch over. It looks the same to people. The accounts all really look the same to everybody. If anything, in my experience, for what it's worth, when Facebook recommends that you try something new, I always do it because like with Facebook mentions, when that was brand new, they kind of favor the new things in the algorithms. So if there's something new and you can get in it, I always do it.
Yeah, Nick says that you get invited when it becomes available.
Oh, for you? Okay.
Yeah, and Olivia asked, I'd like to know what it's, the official name when it's called. Is it called the a creator account?
A creator account.
Okay.
She's asking about like to know it. That's what I was.
Okay. Gotcha.
Like to know it is an app. I can share a link to that in the comments later. But like to know it is a separate app, and that's what people use for affiliates.
Well, and I think the most important thing you talked about that people need to understand is the flexibility it gives you, but also the further detail into what's working and what's not for you. And I think you make such a great point about if Instagram is rolling this out, they're enthusiastic about this new feature. They know they're looking for user adoption. They're looking for us to jump right in with both feet, get excited about it, and take it for a test drive. So yeah, I think if you can get in there and really get a feel for how that's going to work for you, for your business, if you're selling products, get in there and do it. You can always go back. And I think that might be
you can switch at any time Yeah, that's important to know. If you don't like it, switch back. But if you are doing something with money, you need to be either a creator or a business account.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It's clear about those. So if you're a blogger and you want to do affiliate sales or you're selling a product, you have to have a creator account or a business account. You have different insights available on the creator account. So you see more about who's following you and unfollowing you, which I have to say is the worst. That's like the worst thing.
It's like what I do wrong. Yeah.
Yes. And you have to learn not to focus on the people that play the follow, unfollow games. But it does give you more insights. And if you connect with a brand, so like I mentioned with Random House, if I connect with Random House, they can also see some shared information. And it ties over to Facebook creator pages. So you can have a Facebook creator page and like all your stats from all the things connect in like a really cool way. So I don't know if you guys are aware, there's like a little content area for creators where you can connect with brands on Facebook, and Facebook actually is connecting you with them. And they send you little briefs where you can do it, and then you can create this little page. And creators can like put a media kit and all their information. You can tag other brands that you've worked with, and then brands can send you product briefs from that to get you. So they're trying to help. They're trying to connect into that relationship with influencers and brands. And I think that carries over between Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, Carrie asked, how do we determine if we are eligible for a creator account? We are already on a business account. So you say there's like they get an email or it gives you a notification inside of Instagram that you're available to use a creator account?
It probably pops up at the top.
Okay.
Usually when there's something.
Yeah, when you first log back into your Instagram account. And so the whole definition around this is that these were created for what Instagram deems influencers. And to them, that's people with 10,000 plus followers. And so once you have that, once you hit that mark, when you log in, you should get that invitation. It should just pop right up.
So here's a great question from Peggy. She goes, does a creator account work with schedulers? Many influencers depend on scheduled posts. So do you know if that works with them?
It does not work very well.
Oh.
So far. So that is one caveat is Facebook's, for all the official partners, they still will only schedule to Facebook business, or I'm sorry, Instagram business accounts. So that is
correct. The API is not opened up yet, which makes it a little bit of a bummer.
Right. So I get like error messages when I do stuff. So I just do it the old school way, is I put it in there and then I post it when I want to, because I inevitably make a mistake when I try to do a whole Instagram long post on my phone. Then I post it and there's always a typo. And then I don't want to edit it because then it affects how well the post does. So it's worth it to go in, schedule it, and have to just go in and post it later for me. So far, I mean, I haven't switched back to a business account. I think creators accounts are better. One weird thing with a creator account is if you do a paid promotion, like if I do a thing with Random House, I can't promote that post, but they can promote the post.
Gotcha.
And once it's there, like I can't edit it or delete it. I think that's exactly what it said. Which I have to. If you use the branded content tag, which shows the little paid promotion by. When you use that, you can't edit the post later, but the only thing you can do is archive it.
Gotcha.
So you can't delete it if you wanted to like delete a post that you did.
So do you think that, so it sounds like if you have 10,000 plus followers, which I think a lot of people don't have that yet, but if you do have it, it's worth the trade-off of not being able to use a scheduler to have access to the creator account. So you said you hadn't switched back yet, right?
I haven't switched back yet. I mean, I think it is worth it because, like I said, I feel like Facebook/Instagram favors their new product. So for me, it's worth testing to stay on the creator account and just posting for now. I'm assuming since it's their official product that they'll give it to their partners, right?
Yeah,
eventually.
Yeah. I think so.
You can only hope.
Or it could disappear. Maybe they'll just sometimes they do that.
Some things just go away.
Facebook, I don't think Facebook Mentions is an app anymore, right?
It's not, and they switched with the Mentions thing where you used to be able to have like a pre-roll and a thing when you went live. They just stopped it. Just all of a sudden it was gone. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Show pages are gone.
yeah, who knows what's going to happen. So, yeah, so it's a 10K plus. There's still some confusion I'm seeing in the comments. So if you, it's only available if you have 10,000 or more followers, kind of like the swipe up. So I guess when you get the swipe up on your stories, you can apply, you can potentially get this creator kind of type of account. So
But in
very,
the
very
meantime, business. In the meantime, you can have a business
Right.
account. You don't.
Gotcha. All right, what's the next thing the exciting Instagram feature? What's the next one we need to talk about? Because we have 7 and we've already, that was 15 minutes on one, so we need to get going.
Okay. I think honestly, though, I feel like that was the most dense one, though.
Yeah, I think so.
It really is.
Because
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
and
a
the
lot
thing,
to it.
and everybody wants the newest thing. So don't freak out if you don't have it. It's fine. I don't have it, and I'm still here. So. I mean, everybody, we always want the newest thing. It's the shiniest thing. We're like, oh, I want the blue check, or oh, I want this. And so, you know, it really is engaging with your audience. And I'm sure Rebecca and Peg would say this. It's not the amount of followers, it's the amount of engagement and how you're using the followers that you have now and engaging with them. It doesn't really matter too much with the followers. There's some nice perks, but you want to build engagement even when you're below 10K.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
But the next feature is important.
What were you going to say, Rebecca? Real quick?
Oh, I was just going to say that, you know, Peg and I had the conversation when the creator accounts first got rolled out. And I think it's a very personal decision too, whether or not you want to make that move. Because, yeah, if you're posting consistently, you know those times to post, and maybe you don't have the ability to be there and post manually, then that might not be the best direction for you to go anyway. So I think there's a lot of things to take into consideration. And the most important point that Peg just made was, if you are a business, you absolutely 100% need to be a business account and at least take advantage of everything, all of the analytics, the insights that are within those Instagram business accounts. So you are getting as much as you possibly can out of your Instagram account at this point, and then you can make that decision. But yeah, I know it's shiny object syndrome. We get so excited about these new features, and just because certain people are making that move over there doesn't mean it's the right move for you. So I would just say really balance that.
I do want to bring up this comment because Polly says, I have 15,000 plus followers, but I don't have music. So yeah, there's some crazy things that go on. Another James says he has 1,300 followers, but he can swipe up. So yeah, there's always anomalies. One of the things, Polly, I would say, I had the same issue with the music thing, and a lot of people have had issues with that music. Log out of everything on Instagram, even delete it from your phone. Reboot your phone and then reinstall Instagram and try it that way. That worked for me. That was kind of what helped. So anyway, side note there, because I know it can be frustrating. So next point.
All right. Let's move on to our feature number 2, which is shoppable, say that 2 times fast, huh? Shoppable tags for Instagram stories. And this one is super cool. And I think got both of us very excited and could actually get us into a lot of trouble too. But talk to us about this one, Peg.
Well, the interesting thing about that is you don't have to have 10,000 followers to get a link. That's a big, huge feature. The only thing you do have to have is you have to have a product or something that you're selling. So, and again, this is like a really tight correlation between your Facebook page and your Instagram account. On your Facebook business account, you create like a store. I can't even remember if that's the exact name of it. You create a store, you put your products in there, and then you're able to add links to those over on your Instagram, and people can click right there and go to it. So as I mentioned before, you know, they're really trying to like catch that that behavior that the like to know it influencers are doing, but also big brands. So like I follow Ulta Makeup. They use links all the time. I'm sure you guys probably follow accounts.
I don't follow Ulta. I don't follow
not Ulta. I said follow brands as well that sell products. But product, you know, if you have an actual product, it could even be things that you make for your blog. It could be your books. You could have books. whatever you have that you're selling, as long as you can make it a link on Facebook as a product, then you can do a link to that. That does not work with creator accounts. That works with business accounts, correct? Yes.
Yes.
Not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of confusing because we're talking about one thing and then another. So this one is a great solution for small businesses who maybe don't have 10,000 followers, who aren't creators and have products. So this way you can make your Instagram shoppable right in the app,
And
which is great.
So I have a couple accounts that I run for clients that have Shopify, and Shopify works. I've just been so impressed with Shopify and how it integrates with both Pinterest and Instagram, and it allows us, because what it does is it creates that catalog on Facebook, and once that's on Facebook, you can use it as both shoppable posts and also as the swipe up and have that shoppable sticker in your stories, it just integrates so stinking well. I mean, I just do a search for the product, it pops up, and I can put that sticker in on the swipe up. So I have just experience with Shopify. What was
So
that?
Shopify will automatically move the things over into your Facebook.
It is. Yeah, it's super slick. It's super simple. In fact, you just go to your integrations and plug in your social media accounts, and you can create the same thing for Pinterest or for shoppable post on Instagram. Once in a while, I had to finagle some things, but most of the time, it took the catalog all the way over, and I have access to all whatever's on my catalog on my Shopify store. I'm able to add as a shoppable tag for both stories and for post, which is really cool. One of the things,
Etsy shop owners, right? Etsy shop owners can do that.
I haven't tested it with Etsy, but yeah, I think so. The only thing I noticed, and this, you guys can correct me below if I'm wrong, I really noticed that when I did a shoppable post right out of the gate, that my reach was really hammered. And I think they're wanting me to buy ads for it. And so what I've done is I've let it I use Tailwind's hashtag finder, get it really great the way I want it. And then what I do after it kind of matures is I go back in and add that. You can go and edit your post and add those shoppable tags later. So when people are looking at your feed, they can just click over to your catalog that way. That's what I found works the best for me. But some people, mileage may vary, but I just noticed that when I did that right out of the gate, it was really, my reach was like half of what it did when I normally did it.
There was a stat I had for the paid partnerships that then an article I read said that with the creator accounts doing paid promotions, that it was like 32% less engagement across the board.
Yeah.
Like they study people. So they want you to use these things but you can't promote it as an influencer. The brand has to do it. So it's really tricky. So you're like, okay, I like getting books, that's great, but I also don't like doing a post that doesn't do as well.
Right.
And not even, you just click, you're just posting and you're like, hope this does okay.
Yeah, Christine says, yes, agreed, punished for adding product. So she's experienced too. That's why I go back and add it afterwards, because I think if somebody wants to buy something, they may go back to my feed and look at it. So, the stories feature might be something to, putting that in stories, because that way it's not really as limited as your reach and post. So that would be something to experiment with.
It is cool to add them right in the story. And it's especially great because if you don't have that swipe up, they're really delineating the things, like whether it's a swipe up or a link, but to people using it, it's kind of the same. The nice thing about the product link, is that you can see it no matter where it is, on the picture versus just at the bottom. I feel like it's more visible with a product link.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
I would agree with you.
So,
All right.
if you got it, use it.
One.
I think they're really cool. I think we noticed when we were doing it with clients, especially one that was selling edible products, that they had a 60% more when we started using those shoppable posts on Instagram. They had a uptick of 60% back to their site traffic. It boosted it that much because people were clicking over to see it, and being able to add it to your cart and all that stuff is really, really handy. And that's why it integrates so well with Shopify. And somebody asked about WooCommerce. I believe it does the same. I'm not 100%. I know
I think it does too. I think I saw that one on their integration page.
Yeah, and BigCommerce is another one.
BigCommerce is fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool.
So here's another question I want to pull up from Andrea. And this is kind of a general question that I think a lot of people wonder about. She goes, I am so frustrated with Instagram right now. No matter how many hours I research and work on quality content, it's so difficult to gain new followers. So
Same
I know
girl.
Yeah, that's just what I was thinking, that you guys feel the same way. I know, Peg, you've talked to me even privately that like it just feels sometimes like it's just flatlined.
For me, it has. It's if I do a lot of Instagram stories, then it picks up and it's all good. If I post daily and do really good Instagram stories, but you don't always have that time, even though you can kind of schedule out your Instagram stories, it's still like a lot of time because everyone you're doing, you upload it, you're adding hashtags, you're tagging things, you're like making it entertaining. And so it's hard, but Instagram stories are the only way that I've got it to grow my account. And the followers seem to be good followers too. So yeah, I think it all goes back to, like Jeff said, what you were talking about with your post with like when you add things. I think it's just important to know that you have to do extra hustling besides just posting, even though I know that's a lot to ask because it takes a long time to plan a really good Instagram post and write out all the text. But then you have to do like some post hustling by putting it up in your stories with like covering it up and saying new post and adding hashtags and doing things in there, asking questions in your stories to engage people, going live on your Instagram stories to talk about your new post. Unfortunately, there's just like all this extra hustling you have to do for what used to be, we could just post really good content. It's just not the same anymore. Just a really good Instagram post doesn't do as much as it used to, unfortunately.
When you talk about hustling, how important do you think it is in 2019, where we sit today, to get out and comment on other people's, to be in DMs, to have those conversations on an ongoing basis?
I think they're really looking, they meaning Instagram/Facebook, are looking at all the social signals that they've built right into the channel, which is exactly what you're talking about. Direct messages, comments, are people turning your posts on to see it right away? Are people saving your posts? So using calls to action in your text could help all those things. If you say, hey, if you like this, click the little save it for later, or, share this to your account, like it, share it. We just have to work on those things. I think it's like crucial at this point, honestly, compared to the engagement that we used to get, a couple years ago on Instagram, because mine is like the same. Mine kind of like flatlined. I'm verified. I have a good amount of followers. I post, I think, good content. I post as good content as I can get. And I write, interesting, I think, thoughtful descriptions, hopefully. And still, it kind of flatlined for me too. So that doing the other things are what helps. And then I still am always working on my hashtag game. I think we'll talk, I was going to talk about that a little bit later, but I feel like hashtags are still the key. It's definitely, everything is a little bit more time consuming, the planning out, making things look great. And then hashtags, which we've always used, I think now need a little bit more strategy.
Yeah, I think
that, agree with that?
Yeah. So here's one that Hannah says, and this kind of echoes. There's a lot of comments with the same kind of feel to it. It's like, I feel like I'm creating better content than I ever have, but the response isn't what I hope for. And so once again, I would, yeah, it's a struggle, but I think also is, don't look at what other people are doing. Look at your audience, and are you engaging? Are you having conversations? Because if I compare myself to like Peg or Rebecca, I'd be sniveling in a corner, just crying constantly. But I know but my audience, being able to talk with them and engage with them is what I need to do. So don't compare yourself to others. Continue to work. Try these tips that Rebecca and Peg are giving you, but don't just don't give up. That's what I'm saying.
Also, even though I'm saying like I feel like it takes a long time, which I think it does for everybody, cut yourself some slack and like try to condense the amount of work that you're doing to create those posts. Like bulk process a whole bunch of posts, like get them out there, get them planned so it's at least less stressful. Because I'll show you I have this little guide that I like. This is like old school content planner, and it's great. I like have it all on there. So at least it helps me plan that content faster. So like look to your own resources to make things go faster and don't overthink your regular posts as much, and then just try to do more in your stories to make up the difference if you can. So yeah, I mean, we can't overthink all of it all the time, right? We would just go crazy.
Yeah.
Gotta post it and let it go, and just make sure you catch every comment if you can, or later. Yeah, it's hard. And I think that's across the board. I think it's for everyone. I think some people don't talk about it. I think some people are like, my Instagram account is amazing all the time, but I just don't know. I don't know about that.
So speaking of new things that we need to try, and a lot of times, a lot of people gave up on IGTV. They're like, this isn't going to work. But there's been a lot of stuff lately, and if you've noticed in your feed how much that's being featured, and Peg, you mentioned before about really kind of capitalizing on what the new features are on the platforms and really using that to your advantage. So talk to us about how to use IGTV to the best that we can.
Wow, I am totally not the IGTV expert. I would like to know, just by like a quick poll in while we're live here, how many people view them in the app or in the separate IGTV app? Which one do you guys use? I use them in the app because they pop up for me and I like to see, and it pops up the people that I like. So I usually go in there. I hardly ever go out to the other app. But tips for IGTV, I use, and I know Jeff uses, maybe Rebecca does, Adobe Rush for video editing, because you can do vertical video. They will do horizontal video now, but vertical is always better. People are on their phones and they really like to see it. You want to fill the whole screen if you can. I know YouTubers in general like to try to repurpose their videos over, but you can take your horizontal video in Rush and make it a vertical video. So I feel like that does make the difference. And then also keep in mind that a lot of people are watching video without sound. So if you're like exaggerated, and if you maybe could do some pop-ups of text and other things to engage people, especially right in that first beginning when people are going to start watching it. I think those things, they're kind of old school video tips, but I think they still definitely work. I think the thing with this is you can record it and upload it, but it still has that like live feel. So I feel like there's a lot of great tutorials that I see. I see people creating like great how-tos and just really engaging people in, what they're doing. That's basically the things that I've seen that really seem to be working. And then sharing that, of course, as a post on your feed, I think helps a lot, which you couldn't do that at the beginning, but now you can do the video and it shows as one of your posts and people watch just a little snippet and then they click to watch the rest of it. So people love video. I think video is still growing and snowballing. So have you guys used it a lot yet? I haven't really.
I've played with it, but there's a lot, like Teresa she goes, I love IGTV. So it's starting to really kind of get more popular. And it says, she goes also, if you're not using IGTV to share your videos to market, you are losing out. So one of the things, you mentioned Adobe Rush, which is great for repurposing that for an app in your phone, because it's all cross-platform, Adobe Rush. But another one is Video Leap, which I really like. And you mentioned also burning to have captions on to catch the people's eye, because a lot of people don't do it with sound. And Headliner.io is a great way to burn those into your videos so they show up and they're on the screen, and you don't have to worry about like Facebook or anybody else's captioning system. You can just do them yourself. So that's a great resource. Headliner.io, I believe is what it's called. So very cool.
I'm actually a bigger consumer. I decided, not to work on them too much, but I do like to watch them.
Yeah, I think they're fun. I think that's really growing. A lot of people poo-pooed it and said to give up on it. And I think the way they're really pushing it in the feed is, I think, really important. And everybody, you asked that question, everybody says in the app. Nobody else went to that other thing.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. It's like, when that one came out, I was like, okay, how many apps do I need that Facebook owns on my phone?
Exactly. Like, take over your phone, yeah.
Creator, IGTV, Boomerang, Hyperlink, they have a lot of apps that they want you to use.
Here's a great question. How long can I got to pull it up. How long can an IGTV video be? And it depends on your following, doesn't it? Or it's 10 minutes for most people, but I think other people have it for longer.
It's up to 60 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
It is based off of your... Boy, they
But
really bring everything back to that follower account.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't know where the break is. I don't know if all of a sudden you get 60 when you get up to 10,000, or do you know how it breaks down on the time limit, Peg? Okay.
I don't. No, I don't. I didn't see that in any of the stuff. I did have a couple links to share. I don't know if anybody shared that were one was
I'll share those out.
there are some that were about Instagram stories. If you guys haven't done it yet, there's this really awesome thing called Facebook Blueprint, and they have classes that are free, and you can get like certified in Facebook or Instagram, 100% free, and they teach you how to do things, and they give you the best practices for things. So I had a couple of things that I was looking up that were about IGTV suggestions, how to record them, what kind of things to do. Basically, the common sense social media things that we hear, they want to see your personality. So make it fun and make it about you. And one of the people that they used as a great example is, I'm forgetting her first name, Tiffany Jenkins, whose book I just actually read. Her Instagram account is Juggling with Jenkins, and she does really engaging stories. She's super funny, and she's very raw and real. She wrote a book about addiction, and she just talks about mental health issues, but she also creates like funny characters. So hers is very like unique. She's created this whole separate thing. She's very tied in with like Facebook Creator and IGTV and doing all these things with a book launch. And then she also does like the paid subscription that's on Facebook, which I would think they would probably be bringing that over to Instagram too. But it's really interesting how people are using the products together. And I think the video is always where your personality shows, and the posts are more static. So if you have something that you want to share how to do or talk about, if you went on a trip or something fun, IGTV is definitely the place to do your longer form content in the vertical format.
Yeah, they just released, you mentioned that Blueprint. They've just released a bunch of newer ones. That they did a whole dump of new content. So if you haven't checked it out for a while, make sure you go to.
Their classes are short and easy, and you really do learn a lot.
Yeah. So IGTV, very important. If you're not on it, you need to be on it and start repurposing some of your videos. We're actually going to start doing that with this show, is start pulling some of these little clips and putting them over on IGTV to test the waters with that. Also, it's important because this kind of ties in, but getting found on the Instagram Explore page is really important. Now, IGTV, that also ties into the Explore page, right?
It does.
Yeah.
I see them on my Explore page. Yeah,
Yes.
I think the Explore page is when a post is popular or Instagram wants to show it to more people, it pops up. The interesting thing is a lot of times when I look at those, they're a couple days old. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but it's not always the newest content, but it's posts that are popular that people keep commenting and talking about. I just saw one today that was a designer that I follow, and she got married, and it was a post from a few days ago, but people are still talking about it because it was her wedding and it's a big deal. So it was on the Explore page. Hashtags, I think, are very important for getting on the Explore page. So I think it's important to make sure that you're sharing hashtags on things that you're creating, and then really getting hyper focused on which ones are working for you, checking the post to see if they're doing well, following the hashtags. If you guys aren't following the hashtags, I don't follow a lot, but I follow the ones that are very important that I do well on, and I check them to make sure the content is relevant. Like what I'm posting is going to look really great in that feed. Sometimes there's hashtags that seem like they're in the right range of like how many people follow it, and the topic sounds right, but then when I go click on it, like my stuff doesn't fit in there at all. So I feel like that's not a good one to use. So if you look at your posts and click on them in the hashtags to see like, do I fit in this little Instagram hashtag world? I think that's important because I think people kind of gather. It's how people are gathering in their little communities of like people who like houseplants or coffee lovers or dog lovers. There's so many different groups. So I think it's important to make sure that you're using the right hashtags, and that I think that does help. I think it's like some crazy algorithm, like how many likes, who's talking about it, and things like that. But I think always hashtags fall into that. What do you guys think?
So my question is, do you think that because And Rebecca, you may want to chime in on this too, because I'm using the hashtag finder with Tailwind, but also I hear some influencers and Instagram experts say, go see what's trending and then go jump on it really quick, and and it's almost that's like this spammy kind of thing. So, what's like other than hashtags? What would be your top tips? I'd like to know from both of you to get found on the Explorer page. Rebecca, you want to go first?
Well, it goes back to everything Peg was just talking about, which is understanding your industry, understanding what you want to be known for. And I know we've talked about this in previous lives, really nailing down what are those categories or topics that you're posting about, that you're sharing about, that you're talking about on a daily basis, and then aligning your content with that, but also those hashtags. So that, yes, as people are clicking through on those hashtags, you're potentially expanding your reach, potentially getting in front of a whole new audience because of those. And you're creating a cohesiveness within your strategy too, because they're not clicking through on hashtags that really make no sense when it comes to your business. So you do need to get very, very specific, which we certainly help you with within the app with that hashtag finder, in identifying what are those top hashtags that you could be using right now. And I guarantee there are going to be some in there that you never even thought about that you could start adding. Every single time I go to do some research, it comes up with things that I just hadn't even considered. But so much of this is kind of basic 101 of know your audience, know your message, know exactly what you want them to think about when they think about you or when they're researching you and your business, and then talk about that consistently over and over and over again so people understand who you help, how you help. And that is those social signals that Peg was talking about as well, that as people interact with your content, as they're actually viewing your content and how long they're viewing your content for, that those signals are going back out to Instagram so that you are being viewed as that credible source, as that authority within your space. And it's a little bit like that snowball effect where you're going to start to pick up more and more momentum as you're posting the exact right content, that content that your audience is interested in. And then you're also using those right hashtags or geotagging is so that people within your specific area are able to find and connect with you. And this is that point I think we keep coming back to too, which is use all the features, use all those features that Instagram makes available to you. Test every single one of those out, because all of those create interaction and that engagement, which turns into that know, like, and trust factor. And that's where I think that snowball effect I was talking about really comes in.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So,
and use the location in stories too. I think people miss it a lot when they do stories. My stories get a lot more views when I target like a geolocation that's relevant.
very cool.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So,
You guys do that?
Yep,
yeah,
all the time.
Yeah, I try to when I do it, but I need to be better. So, speaking of stories, so how do we create stories highlights? Sorry, I'm going through puberty. Excuse me. I'm starting to notice girls and everything. So how do you create, what's the best way to create stories highlights? Because I mean, everybody in the comments are saying, stories is where it's at. I got so much more engagement and reach when I use stories with my post. So what are some best practices for creating these story highlights?
Ooh, I had like a little mishap when I was at an event last week where I thought I had hit the highlight for something and I lost it. It was like devastating because it was alive. When you create something when you make a story, when you go back to check the story to make sure that it looks okay, which I always do. I don't know. I'm sure everybody does that. But this little button pops up that says highlight, and it has a little heart, and it's got part of a circle. And when you tap it, then it adds it to a highlight that shows on your profile. And people make really great custom little designs for their Instagram highlights. So you can do them as little covers, or you can just pick an image from your highlights. I think the last highlight that you do will show as the cover until you add a custom cover. But basically, the highlights are the thing that keeps your stories from disappearing within 24 hours. Either you do a story and it's just going to disappear, or if it's something important to you, like a blog post or something that's important, you can highlight that and then it will stay on your page right up on the front. So those are really important for making it last longer. You just have to remember to go in and manually hit that highlight on your story to make sure that it does go. And you can also, another feature is that when you create stories, you can decide if you want to share it to your Facebook page or not, or just to your close friends, which if you have any people that you have as a close friend, you could just send something to a few people. But that would be probably more of a personal feature, if you're talking to your friends, not necessarily a business feature. But I guess you could use that if you had like some people you were partnering with or something. But yeah, I feel like the highlights are a really good feature for stories because it gives it that lasting effect, and it takes a long time to design a whole little storyboard and create all your images for your highlights. So if you take the time, make sure you save them.
Yeah, I think it's storytelling. It's a great way to tell a story. But I wanted to bring up this comment from Brandy. She goes, stories scare me. I usually have my stories usually scare people, but I understand where you're coming from. Brandy. So, Peg and Rebecca, will you talk a little bit about people who are like scared to use stories and some tips to kind of get over maybe that fear?
Right. Well, do you want to talk, Rebecca? I feel like I'm like,
no, go for it. You are the guests. You go.
Oh, okay. Well, everybody listen to what I have to say about stories. So Brandy, you shouldn't be scared. If you can test it and you can go into stories and you can try it. If you don't like it, you can delete it and try again. Sometimes it takes a couple tries to get something. Like boomerangs, it's like guaranteed 3 times until I get the right boomerang. So if you record something and you don't love it, just make another one. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. The biggest thing that I see people doing wrong is not looking at the camera. When you do an Instagram story, please look at the camera on your phone. Don't look at yourself. When you look at yourself, you'll be like this. Right now in the video, I'm looking at me versus looking at myself, looking at the camera. So that's one thing that I see wrong a lot on Instagram stories. And it's the difference between engaging people and you're not looking people in the eye, you're actually looking away from people. So cut yourself some slack and just give it a try. If you're not feeling comfortable being on camera, you can share other people's stories to your story and just write a little note or add some GIFs or add music or do something fun. We didn't even really get into all the features that are, in stories, but there's a lot of great things you can do. So if you're not feeling comfortable creating your own at first, you can use other people's. Like I shared one, for example, on Instagram stories for this Facebook Live. So if somebody was excited to see it, they could have shared it and write a little note like, I'm going to be there, see you there. So some days I share just other people's things that I like. And then some days I have, a little series of graphics, or sometimes it's just me. So there's a huge variety. So you should be able to find something that you feel comfortable with. If you're feeling like it's just scary, then you can even make them kind of funny and just draw on your face, give yourself a mustache, use emojis. Like there's a lot of different ways to make it yours. I feel like you should just try it, because if you want to be successful on Instagram right now, it really feels to me like you need to have some stories going to get some more likes and follows. So those are the things that I would recommend. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, Rebecca, I'd like to know what you think to kind of help get over the fear of doing stories.
Well, and obviously this goes back to that whole fear of getting in front of the camera and talking on video. And stories, to me, what kind of eliminated some of that stress and worry is thinking about how we tell stories in real life. What is natural? What is engaging? If we were standing in front of each other and I was sharing a story with you, what about that would captivate you? And think about your stories in that way of What point are you trying to get across? What are you trying to share with your audience? And how could you best break that down maybe into 3 little bite-sized snippets with that big takeaway? And Peg, I love your ideas of having fun with it, playing around with it, using those different features. Just try a variety of different things. But think about just from that storyboarding kind of perspective, think about, what do you want to share with your audience? How can you break that down into maybe 3 little bite-sized snippets? And then how can you easily record that? So can you sit in your office? Can you sit outside? Can you sit with a friend so they're sitting right there in front of you and you're just having a natural conversation? Whatever it is you need to do to get yourself out of your own way, at least that's what I find. I need some of that accountability sometimes too of, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to make it happen. And I need you to give me that gentle nudge, to make sure I've gotten it done by X date. So just think about what you want to share, how you're going to share it, how you're going to get on camera, and then if you need that accountability partner, how they can help you get there so that you can at least try it. And once you do, you may find that it's still not comfortable. It just never gets there for you, and that's perfectly okay. There's tons of different ways that you can use stories without you having to be on camera, and that's the beautiful part about stories. But I would totally encourage people, because we do know that video gives you that more one-on-one feeling of having that conversation, being able to hear your voice. I remember the 3 of us used to talk about this back in the day when, we were doing way more blogging than we were, say, doing live events or video, and people would say, oh my gosh, I never heard you speak before. I've never heard the thoughts actually come out of your mouth instead of reading them on a piece, on your blog. And there is a very different feeling that comes from that. So I would encourage everybody to try it, but I know it may never get comfortable.
So I want to bring up this comment. So Tammy goes, for me, practice, and put your authentic self out there. Yes, stories is great for that, because you don't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be polished. In fact, they actually do better probably when you aren't polished. And also, here's a great, this is Sally. She was in London. Thanks for stopping by, Sally. I want to bring up her comment. She goes, I just need to get in stories and try things out. I'm thinking of showing behind the scenes jewelry making, playing with hammers and fire. Do you think people would be interested in that? Oh my gosh, yes. They would. That kind of stuff would kill it on Pinterest. We're just all like, oh my gosh. So I follow a lot of woodworkers, and the people who put like woodworking and show the start and finish, those things kill it probably more than anything else on Instagram. Flat lays are getting kind of old. Everybody's doing the same thing. And when you can show that from the start to finish, and there's a finished product, oh my gosh, that's incredible. So do you guys agree?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Behind the scenes of any kind.
Yeah. I follow a girl who does, she's the most amazing watercolor artist. She travels around. She lives in New York City, and she does little watercolors. Mm-hmm. And yesterday she showed her process from beginning to end, and then she sells them on Etsy later. So she does these beautiful paintings, and she showed like the steps. First I did this, then I did this, then it was like somebody was like, and then she'll show like comments that people said about it. So it gives you a lot more engagement opportunities with people when you jump to that, like, instead of just showing your jewelry, like, this is how I made this. People are like ready to buy her stuff before she's even done with it. They're like, can I buy this?
Yeah, it's amazing. So try it out, Sally, and let us know how it works, because I think it's going to do really, really well for you. So you mentioned this earlier, Peg, but we're kind of on the 6th step of our 7 Instagram features that you may not be using, but you really should. And it is resharing stories that you're tagged in. So that's and that's another way, you're talking about how to get out there because it's kind of scary, but just resharing stuff when somebody tags you, or even set it up beforehand and tag each other. And if you're nervous about getting on it, and use it that way. I think it's a great way. One, you're giving love to people who took the time to, talk to you about you in your event or your blog post or your product. For the clients that I do, when we have somebody, if we reshare somebody who's shared one of our products, they love it, and it makes us look good, and it makes them happy that they did it, and they want to do more. So I think it's win-win all around.
Definitely. I actually have people share my book. I don't even know how many languages it's in now, maybe like 27 or 30. There's a lot. So sometimes I don't even know what language it's in. So I send them a message and I'm like, hi, where are you? Because that's really interesting. And then I share it. But I'm sorry, I'm going to cough. User-generated content is what that's called.
Right.
And people love it. I'm going to really cough, Jeff. So you need to
Okay,
take
I'll take. So while Peg is coughing and drinking some water, so we talked about sharing stories, but this is the last one that we're going to talk about. I really didn't think of as like a strategy, but using Instagram collections to save posts for later. So Rebecca, can you kind of explain what we mean by that and even the process behind it?
Yeah, I think you can think about this as a way to bookmark that content that you come across within your feed that you can easily access later. So content that you might not have time to take a look at right now, but you want to go back and reference. And there really can be a strategy behind this, how we use this as a business. So one way could be the user-generated content that Peg was talking about. If you want to save that in one location, you could do that. You could create a collection that's maybe just your UGC. Another way is if you wanted to keep up with your competition, you want to pay attention to what's going on with your competition. What are they posting? When are they posting? Kind of keeping up with their strategy so that you can analyze and assess and see what's working, what's not, and is that maybe an idea that you could somehow infuse into your own Instagram strategy so you could keep up with your competition. You could use it as ideation, kind of an ideation board, I guess you could think of it as. I remember back on Pinterest when we first got those secret boards, and it was so exciting. We could pin all those things that we just wanted to be able to come back to. And I kind of think of this as that same thing where you could save all kinds of content that as maybe you're creating content for the week and you're stumped, or you're thinking, I wonder if anybody's ever created a post around this topic. You can reference that. So go back and refer to those to maybe light that creative fire within your own Instagram content. So there's a lot of different ways we can use this, but when you think about it strategically, you can probably come up with at least 2 or 3 different ways that it would save you time from going, oh, what was that, or who was that actually posted that, and trying to go back and find that. Because I don't know about the two of you, but yeah, with how much we're looking at every single day, I tend to forget exactly who it was that posted something or when they posted it. And it's so this makes it very, very easy to go back and find it.
So Peg, what about you? What are some of your tips?
Travel. I like to use it for travel. Like when I have one called Shots that I want to take. So I always look on hashtags and I find like really great locations that I never would have seen, or they're not in travel books. It's just Instagram photographers have gone and taken great shots. So like when I went to Milan, there was one, like there's this huge cathedral in Milan and everybody takes the picture in front of the cathedral, but it's huge. It's really crowded out front. So it's hard to get a good picture. And a lot of people do it, but somebody that I saw had gone inside this museum, like right when the sun was going down, and they got a photo, and you have the whole background is all the church. So it was like a really unique, great photo that I never would have thought about if I hadn't seen that. So sometimes it's that kind of thing where you're like getting photo ideas, or, some of them it's funny how on Instagram, like somebody will take a photo, like obviously somebody at some time was the first person that did like a sunset with the hands, right? And then everybody does it because it looks cool. We're not all professional photographers, but we like to pretend we are on Instagram. So I think you can use it for like camera ideas, shot ideas, and travel. You can definitely find lots of great places to visit that maybe are off the beaten path, but whether you take a picture of it for Instagram or not, it still gives you a great like behind the scenes, maybe local view of something, which is really cool.
Yeah, and here's a great question.
And I was going to say real quick, Jeff, she also uses it to tell other people where they should go take pictures. I live in the LA area. we have a lot of mural walls that are very Instagrammable. And it's so funny because, yeah, you'll send me ones and I'm like, where the heck is that? Oh, it's 5 minutes away. I've never even seen it, but it is a really fun way.
Right.
Think about those
it's around the corner. It might be in an alley or something, and maybe you've passed that street a ton of times. That's what's cool about it. But Los Angeles has angel wings all over. It's a really cool thing. So people come from all over the world to take pictures there.
So Carol asked a great question. If somebody's not used it before, how do you actually save the somebody else's content? Like if they're like new to Instagram or they don't know where to find this, how do they find where they can save somebody's piece of content?
It's just a little bookmark. So on every post, there's a little, it looks like a little actual little bookmark. You just tap it and it'll ask you if you want to save it to a collection, and then you can name it.
Yeah, and you can save multiple collections. Like I have one for video, cool video effects. I have one kind of like for places. I have one for quotes. And so you can kind of put it wherever you need to, and you can go back and look at it later. So it's really simple. Just tap around and you should be able to find it, Carol. So hope that helped. Yeah. So that is our 7 exciting Instagram strategies that you may have features that you may have not thought of before. And we are at the top of the hour, so we are going to wrap this up. Thank you for everybody who has joined us today. Peg, thank you so much. You are such a great guest, as always. We got to do this more often. Where can people find you?
Well, they can find me at Peg Fitzpatrick. Sorry, I had allergies, but it's somewhere, I don't know.
You're fine.
So I apologize for being human, but I'm Peg Fitzpatrick everywhere. PegFitzpatrick.com, at Peg Fitzpatrick. So easy to find me.
And Rebecca, I'll let you have the last word.
Well, yeah, thank you again for being here. 7 Instagram features. I am amazed we got through that in an hour. But I dropped all of those links that Peg talked about. So there's a couple of different articles that a creator, Facebook creator account that I know a lot of people want to know more about. Peg had shared that link as well with all of the training we talked about. So you can find those. Just scroll down through the comments. We'll also all 3 of us will come back through. If we did not get to your comment, we definitely tried to, but we'll come back through and make sure that we get to those. And if you have any other questions, just drop those down into the comments, and Jeff and myself will make sure that we get an answer for you. Otherwise, I think that's it. We're wrapped, right?
Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you next week. Same time, same channel. Thanks for watching. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.